All right, this is Chris Jarvis and Kat Faubert with the Quistery Project, and we are here with the indomitable Eddie Enos.
Anyway, to get back to the Girl of the Golden West, the group of people that went loved it. The girls were there, the lesbians were there, and then the lesbians looked like truck drivers. You know, they didn't have the lipstick lesbians, you know, which we would talk to them because Eldania, I fell in love with her and she fell in love with me, and we started doing numbers together.
Okay.
And she was a cute little boy, you know, and there was a couple of them that were cute that had mustaches that were going through the change. That was the first time I was ever told that you could go through a change. And in San Francisco's where you would do all the initial 1 year living as male or female and
right.
seeing a doctor and living in or out of...
If you want to transition, yeah.
Right. So it became to where the lesbians liked the drag queens. Gay guys went because there was a lot of sailors, and then they all started intermixing. The lesbians started having fun with the guys. You know, it became what the bars are now, you know, mixed. Mm-hmm. Well, and now you go to any of the bars and they're not only mixed, they're mixed but with a lot of straight people
right.
that go for the music.
Right.
So it's come a long ways, but those were my drag days.
How many bars were there in Fresno at the time of the Orange Ogre and Girl of the Golden West and Frans?
Well, there was only the Orange Ogre at one time.
Okay, that was the only bar.
Right, the only bar.
Okay.
And then Frans opened up, and the little gas station bar.
Yeah, we can't remember this.
Yes.
The Red Robin?
The Red Robin, the Red Robin came later. Mm. It was the Orange Ogre, then Frans Pine Lake Lodge, the little gas station bar, then the Girl of the Golden West. And when those three bars opened, then all of a sudden the Entre Nous opened. And the Entre Nous was across the street from the bookstore on Blackstone. As it curves,
yes.
That's where I met Chris Desson,
okay.
David Webb,
maybe
Mike Webb. Fell in love with him because I thought he was so handsome. I loved the geek look at that time.
Yeah.
And he would wear these big glasses, and he was so lanky. That was a whole nother story. Chris told me, "That's my sister." He set me straight real quick. So Chris and I became really good friends. We were all going to Frans because
let's talk about Frans.
Frans became the main bar because it had people that were traveling through. It was a truck stop. It used to be a truck stop, but then truckers would actually park their trucks and come into the bars that knew that it was a gay bar, and then take whoever they wanted back to their trucks. Okay, you don't need to know all that. But
where was Frans? Tell us where Frans was.
On Old 99, this side of Klein's truck stop.
Okay.
Because Klein's was, when you reach Klein's, that's when you were
leaving. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
It had rooms. It had little cabins, and then it was a rustic, woodsy-looking bar, a giant log cabin. It's like if you were in a lodge, and then it had running water in the bar. It had a huge pool. In the summer, we would accidentally fall into the pool as we were leaving, or
Who owned that place? Who owned Frans?
Fran and Gail.
Okay.
I can't think of their last names.
That's okay.
Two lesbians. Gail was the femme, and Fran was more the masculine. Uh-huh. And she was incredible. I loved Fran. Fran and I, every time I went in drag, Fran and I would just flirt and just piss Gail off, just for the hell of it. Fran looked like a little, always Levi's, always a cowboy shirt, always a bow tie. Very
butch.
Very butch, but friendly. Yeah. Where Gail was a feminine with this tight ponytail, a little bit of makeup and this skirt or whatever, and would just prance around giving everybody a bad time. You know what I mean? If she didn't like the way you looked, she'd bump into you and, "You want another drink? You drink up." You know what I mean? She was business. Fran was, she had the personality. She would meet and greet people, and she'd go and talk to them. She was excellent.
And
wonderful.
was there a dance floor there?
Yes.
And lots of shows, right?
Well, no, they didn't have any shows.
Oh, they didn't have any.
It was and it wasn't a dance floor at first. It had tables to where that's where the lesbians would go and sit.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, when the Girl of the Golden West opened, Fran started talking to Jesse and a few other people about having a show there. So the first show, it was Jesse, myself, Barry Connors, Jerry Dayton, I think, Jerry and Carrie, and Russ. Russ was one of Jerry's friends, incredible entertainer. Was the first one I ever saw with breasts. He did taping. He would tape his face back and tape his chest to actually have breasts. He was one that taught everybody how to tape.
Okay.
And I just thought, I'm not old enough to tape yet. I'd have wrinkles. Jess and all them could. Anyway, then she turned the elevated place where the girls would sit with all the tables. She turned that into a dance floor.
Okay.
And then when it became a dance floor, at first we couldn't dance in there. She gave us the name of the Gypsies, because we would come in with tambourines. We would always party somewhere else and then meet and then go there. And when we would, a bunch of us sort of started the dancing, because we just started dancing. As long as two people weren't looking at each other dancing, it was okay. But the minute you face somebody, she would tap you. And Gail loved that.
So people would just kind of dance by themselves,
Yes.
technically. Okay.
That's where Jerry Dayton and Carrie, they were standing at the center of the bar and spinning. They knew how to stand. When they danced, they could spin beautifully.
Yeah.
So when the dance floor opened, those two would dance, and they had to clear an area, for them. And then that's when the bump came out, and everybody was bumping each other. It turned out to be an incredible dance floor. People went there to dance, and sometimes it was bumper to bumper. I mean, you couldn't wave your arms or do anything, and if everybody was moving together, it looked good because everybody could dance.
Yeah.
And then when they had a show, first the audience didn't like it because they wanted to go and dance. And then we started doing fast numbers, live numbers, because the entertainers at that time were doing Barbra Streisand slow and this and Judy Garland
Ballads and stuff.
and it wasn't coming over until they introduced Donna Summers, Tina Turner,
Right.
a lot of other people that did fast numbers. So then they started dancing with them, not coming on stage, but dancing in the aisles with them. So then it became more and more to where Fran wanted the shows twice a month. And the Girl of the Golden West wanted shows weekly. I was still in school, so I told him I couldn't, that I was working. Thank God I started working.
So you were still in high school at this time?
Yes. I was a senior.
Okay.
Telling my parents I was going to the football game.
So you were 17?
17, 18.
Okay.
I even got drafted when I was performing at the Girl of the Golden West.
You got military drafted?
Military drafted.
Okay.
So I went and I told Bob, I'm being drafted, and he goes, well, we'll go with you. And I thought, well, what do you mean? He goes, we'll get you out. And I said, I don't know how. I worked for the Fox Drug Store in Selma, and Clyde Fox gave me 2 bottles of saccharin, and he said, take these 3 or 4 days before you go in, before you do your physical. So I did that, and when I went in, Jerry Stone, Bob's lover, was waiting for me, and Jerry Wilford in a Cadillac. And I thought, okay, they said, well, when they see us drop you off, they're going to know. And I thought, well, nobody was out there, so I went with all the guys that I went in with knew. So I went in and said I was gay and all this, and they said, oh, no, that's okay. So
okay, we can draft you? I thought that was a deferment.
I thought so, too.
Yeah.
So when they took me, they had me there until they were getting all of the other guys. I went in there at like 8, 9 o'clock, and not until 2:30 did they let me go. And they went and said, okay, there was 4 of us. they came back and they said, your sugar level is too, you're going to be a diabetic or something like that.
That's what the saccharin was for.
So, when they said that, that's what they released me on. And the other three boys, too. We all had too much sugar in our system. So I thought to myself, here I told them I was gay and I didn't have to.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did. It was like, anyway, when I walked out, Jerry Wilford's, oh, girl. You know how Jerry was.
Yeah.
He's very theatrical.
Yeah.
He's this big, huge guy that is just, thinks he's a little feminine girl. I love him. And in this bowl, like a mole haircut, but he had super fine hair, but a lot of it to where he would get it cut in a bowl cut and always shake it just to shake
He had
it.
a lot of hair, yeah.
Anyway, that night I was doing, I think it was a Christmas show, and Bob Benson told Jerry and Jerry to go and make sure that I would do the show. So that night I went and I did the show. When I told him, I said, I was dropped off. I was dropped off at my sister's house, and Jerry and them picked me up. I said, so you guys have to take me back to my sister's house the next morning.
This was so no one would know what you were up to.
Right. And then when I walked in my sister's house, they were all having breakfast, and I said, they don't want me. So my mom screamed. It was nice. It was everything I needed to hear. And then 2 months after that, I started beauty college, and then she thought I was going to business college, Four C's Business College, and I was going to Federico's Beauty College.
Well, let's talk about Federico's Beauty College.
Okay, I started Federico's Beauty College.
Had you come out at any point? When did you come out to family, friends? Well, your friends knew, but did you come out to your family?
I came out to my family the first time I won Miss Gay Fresno.
Okay, so that was later, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about Federico.
No, I take that back. That was my senior year, and
Of high school.
Of high school, and Monty, Jesse, and Augie lent me a wig and a dress. I didn't know what a drag queen. I didn't know what a queen was. To me, I thought a queen was football queen.
Yeah.
That kind of queen. So when they said that I was a queen, I thought, okay, cool. And they said, well, we want you to run for a queen. I said, well, I can't because I'm in high school.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. So I really didn't know what a queen was until they addressed me. They said, okay, now you're a queen and you're going to represent Selma. I thought, okay. So they introduced me, the girl of the Golden West. And that was their first Fresno pageant. And I won. So when I won, I was so happy. I thought, okay, this is really, really cool. I told them I had to go home. I was still in drag, and my clothes were at the room. So when they dropped me off, I went to the back door, and I had the key to my door. So I opened up, and my father was there.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Your mom's still asleep. You better go to bed." Because it was like 2:33 in the morning, and I had never come in. I'd never come in that late.
Yeah.
So I went in, and I got everything off. My mom comes in, and as she's opened the door, I was in my underwear, and my wig and makeup was still on. And she looked at me, and she just shook her head and turned around and walked off. We didn't talk about it. Nothing was ever talked about until about maybe 4 or 5 months after that, when I moved. I graduated from high school, and I told my mom I was moving. I graduated in June, and I was moving in with Linda Anderson, Selinger's apartments, November, the week before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So I was fully gay, I was fully out, and my mom and dad knew. None of my other family knew. That's how I came out to them.
They knew from seeing you, your mom knew, your dad,
Right.
but you just never talked about it.
We never talked about it.
Okay. That was a lot of people in those days. Yeah.
Yes. And then I was living with Linda, going to Federico's Beauty College. The lady next to my sister, she had passed. So I went, and my mom said, "I'll help you buy this home." So I said, well, I have $5,000 that I was saving for a car, and I bought this home for $48,000. So all I had to do was give $10,000 down. My payments were $100 a month. So that was so much money. To me, it was like, can I come up with $100 a month?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then I had a little rental in the back. I rented it to my cousin for $25. And I prayed every day going to work, going to school, because I had to go, and I was working at the drugstore and driving to and from Fresno to Selma. So then I quit the drugstore, got my license, started working. And it was like I had $78 a week that I was making in the salon. And I told God, please help me keep this house, maintain it. I didn't know about car insurance. I didn't know about house insurance. I didn't know about taxes. I didn't know about PG&E, garbage. I was so overwhelmed and totally naive. And then I started doing hair, weddings and hair. That's how I did Joyce's hair. I was doing it in high school, but I knew how to work with hair. I loved hair. I loved doing hair. Once I started, I started working at Joseph's on Olive. And I was getting $78 a week.
Hair salon?
Right.
Yeah.
That was my first job. Praying that I would be able to maintain the house. And then it was, I started doing drag, and then my sister lived right next door to me. My younger sister, Louise, the sister in the middle. And Dolly, my older sister, lived next to her. Her husband had a construction company, so the lots next to them were all construction lots. Once I moved into my house and I knew it was mine, and it's like, okay, my mom knows I'm gay, my dad knows I'm gay, I don't care. So I would actually do Augie or Jesse, everybody was getting ready at my house and walking out to the cars, and we had these shrubs that covered everything. But they walked in as boys and then walked out as girls.
Right.
The neighborhood knew, and that was okay.
I have a quick question. So you were talking about Miss Gay Fresno. So, Fran, were those pageants happening at other bars as well, or?
The pageants were held with the drag queens that were entertaining at the time. So there was just a handful of us, and Jessie was the first Miss Fresno. She came out as Miss Fresno at the Orange Ogre. And then Monty Garcia came out as second Miss Fresno at the Orange Ogre.
Now, whose pageant was the Miss Gay Fresno? Who was running it? Was it just something you guys collectively started off?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
And then the bar backed us up backed Jessie up to where, whoever had the pageant had to buy the crown, had to buy whatever. When I had my costume parties, I did all the money for the prizes. I had to produce everything myself. And there it was the bar going in halfers with whoever had it because they knew that they were making money. So from the Orange Ogre, we went to the costume party at the Girl of the Golden West because I got Miss Fresno at the Girl of the Golden West. And then I gave it to Rick from Visalia, Joe Ashcroft's boyfriend, Brian Brace. Did you ever meet Brian Brace?
So.
A straight hairdresser that after Rick came out, Brian threw himself in drag too. And beautiful guy, beautiful. They owned the Witch's Closet, or the Witch's Den. Anyway, that was, with that pageant, then it started, the bars were half and half. So the pageants really didn't have it was like,
it wasn't like Community Link run stuff now.
No.
The bars were doing it because they made money off people coming in,
Right.
and they partnered with the drag queens.
and it was a function, but it had no organization, no ground, no base.
Right.
Not until the Hacienda, the first one, there was a bar that opened up and where the bathhouse was under Jensen.
Downtown.
Yeah, and it was called...
The bathhouse was
The
the
Wood-
Steamworks, right?
Yeah, the bathhouse was the Steamworks, but this was for Magic Forest.
Magic Forest. I haven't heard of that one either.
The Magic Forest was under where Jensen Overpass.
Yeah.
And then the Magic Forest was there. And then that later on, like maybe 15, 20 years later, became a bathhouse. That was a men's club only, and I forget what that was called.
Wasn't it the Steamworks?
No, the Steamworks was where the post office is.
Right.
Across the street.
Right.
And that was, we did shows there.